So if you ever felt like you're on a constant treadmill, that's how the kids and I have felt since probably last January. Just constantly running on a journey that for some of us happened in December and January this year. But sadly enough, we haven't even talked about it. I know that's probably for you parents hard to believe. You think, well, what do you do with them all day long? We work. But we have never deprogrammed from this unbelievable moment that we had together on that night. Because as soon as we came back, we had to unload the truck, we had to get ready for this concert, which is unbelievable that they were able to have a work ethic with some prodding, just a little prodding, to make sure that their standards don't go into accept mode and that we keep on pushing and pushing. In my room, we don't allow excuses. We only find solutions. So it's a real compliment to them that they were able to get their act together amidst keystones where they ninth graders lost their blocks with me, were willing to give up their lunches, etc., to try and make tonight special for you. As I always tell them, a concert's about giving a gift. No money needed, just the special feeling that you get when you play music. But I thought it was really important tonight to tell you, as long as I can keep myself together, about how marvelous your children were and are. You know, from the 24-hour ride down there, which was a whole different band than what we took back with us, in a good way. It went down with some separation of, I can't believe she's torturing me on a bus ride. How am I going to function without my internet? You know, how? And so the way down, we got there in 24 hours, which was, we were all excited because we were early, and they were welcomed with, guess what? Your 57 rooms are not available, and probably will not be available. So as adults, we go into that disgust mode. You know, how can you even think of this, and how can you say this? But your children went right to the next plan, and plan B was, we didn't have a plan B, but the plan B that we quickly made was, let's go find a room and let's chill. And I went and argued a little bit and tried to make some headway with the staff, and came back, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with 200 plus kids that are really tired right now and just want to brush their teeth and have a shower? So what did we do? We put on the music and we danced. Because I did not know what else to do. They thought I was absolutely a lunatic. And I, as tired as they, we just danced. And slowly some of the rooms got ready, and we tried not to be jealous of them, and off we went to the Jungle Dinner Cruise. 90% of them still in the same clothing that they left with 24 hours ago. But never a complaint is what my point is trying to be. For most of them, they had not slept until finally they hit the pillow for 48 hours. So the trip continued. As they kept going, they kept building better building blocks with each other. From the performance at Bayside, which was so 80 degrees hot, being very professional with their coats on, coats off then, being well received by everyone there, to two arduous practices in that heat, one with our own selves, and then one with all the dancers and hoopla on the next day. And then to learn something that I thought to myself, how much more can 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds put in that brain of theirs when they were teaching us how to unveil the American flag? That is quite the process. We made it look really flawless, but they were telling the kids, well, if you fall, just lay down underneath the flag and don't move. And I'm saying to myself, oh my. And don't pull too hard, pullers, because you'll split it in half. And I'm saying national TV. But as as nervous and as full of anxiety as I was not to disappoint them and not to disappoint you, they were as cool as a cucumber. We got this, Ms. Lee, we're fine. And it was amazing to watch the teamwork. The flag is huge and the flag is heavy to do this arduous task of this proud moment. And then we moved to the stadium. And people know on performance days, kind of stay away from me. There's very few of them that approach. For that wanting never to let anybody down. So we get there, it's mass chaos. They don't even notice that. We get off the buses, college bands, what a great environment. We move in, we get our seats in Sky Heaven, we have anxiety from some of the kids, we get them together. We get down to do Malaguena, and I'm still feeling they're in chaos. And little yelling and screaming, get them in line, and they get out there. And it's like when you take your kid for the first time to kindergarten, and you know that feeling. You're like, what will they ever be the same again? Well, that's how it feels as a band director when you look at your 3 drum majors and go, this is more pressure than most adults can handle. Taking 200 people out in that stadium, to all those lights, to all those cameras, to all those time restraints. And off they went. And as a nervous parent, nervous director, I knew they had the audience, I knew they had it the minute they turned and hit that unbelievable moment in Malaguena. At that moment, I knew they were a band. At that moment, I knew they were a family. At that moment, I knew they had a memory that would never fade from their mind. And what you need to know is, it's a memory I will never forget. Whoever put that picture on the website, that's the picture of the moment. I didn't put that picture on, but every time I open my laptop, I see them. That's the moment that they just owned that stadium, that music. And then in a split second, it was over, wasn't it? In a split second, it was over. They had to run off like little demons because Georgia Tech was taking over the property. But unbeknownst to you, as they were sweating, unbelievably, they weren't done. They had to run to the next part. And that's to put their instruments down and gather this unbelievable American flag. This unbelievable American flag is quite heavy. But the moment they put it in their arms, and this is a huge snake, a whole football field worth, I knew in my heart that we now have Americans, and it sounds corny, but the way they held that flag to their chest was a moment that I will never forget. Because they know on this American flag, meeting Memorial Day moments, but I realized that they too are full of pride over that American flag. That moment, in that tunnel, holding it to their chest. And off they went onto that field very quickly because TV screwed up, and all of a sudden they were being screamed at, move, move, move. But it's not that easy to move with that flag. And off they did, and the singer began, and off it unveiled. And then it waved. And I'm telling you, there was not a dry eye amongst your staff, amongst your chaperones, and amongst anybody in that stadium. For what you gave people that day was a gift that could never be taken. So that happens, they close that thing, they run again, dripping wet, as the next part begins. And off they go to the stands. They have their moment to finally catch a breath, to come back down again to do the halftime show, of which they choreographed. And I don't know how many people realized it, but they gave up their lunches. We were charged at the last minute to figure out how to do a dance. So they gave up lunches and we danced at lunch. So we finally made something that we thought worked well with the music. But in the tunnel was what was more special. Because out in the field, once again, things all didn't work out with the technology end of life. But in the tunnel, all of a sudden, as I was, looking around, I hear them starting to chant who we are. And all of a sudden, you hear the word Easton and the pride coming out of their mouths. And then you know that you did something right, parents. You did something right. You instilled in them the sense of worth and self-respect. And they were able to feel that energy that they just created. And off they went for halftime, and it was what it was. It was fun. We have different types of memories from halftime than we do from pregame experience. And then we moved outside, and we're watching the clock because, as you know, it was New Year's Eve, and we knew we would not be together as a band in a hotel for New Year's Eve at that moment. But my chaperones made sure they were on the buses, counting down for those that weren't with me, loading the truck. And we all took a moment. We made our own ball with our phones, held up 10, 9, 8. And we did take that moment, parents, to make sure we didn't forget to celebrate the new year. And every chaperone made sure every child celebrated that and yelled to them, call your parents, wish them Happy New Year, because it was the first time for many away from home on that special evening. And they packed up, we got back to the hotel, and we thought, okay. And then the next day comes, and we have to pack and travel. So we think this was going to be an easy thing. It wasn't. So instead of taking 24 hours, we take 28 hours. But it was different this time, wasn't it? It was different. The meal together was different. No one was rushing around. All of a sudden we have newfound friends, newfound conversations. And when one of our band members needed some extra attention, medical attention, they never even questioned sitting on the bus for close to 3 hours, just hanging out, being friends, or sleeping, or watching another chick flick, as Mr. Finnegan would say. But they're different now. They've learned what's important. They've learned that friends are important. They learned that money is nice, but the gift of music, or the gift of oneself, has a lasting lifetime to them. I just hope that those memories are never tainted, no one ever takes them away from you, and hope that you realize that hard work, even over talent, will always persevere, because that's what you did do. We all come from different backgrounds. Most of you would never have known each other had it not be from being invested in your band programs from 4th grade on. And look what you now have done. You have now made a memory for many people, myself, yourself, your families, your city, your school, and so many other people who are still sending little emails saying, this is who I am, we saw your band, we couldn't believe it. The final shout out would be to our parents, both the chaperones who gave up so much time. Believe it or not, I'm not the easiest person to hang out with for 7 days. I know you find that unbelievable, but when you're in a working mode and you're not a vacation mode, and I take them seriously to return them to you, same way, not always easy street. But they gave up their time for you. They gave up their time for me in the school. And then there's 3 other humans, and I don't know if they're able to be here tonight because of their jobs, but our 2 nurses and our doctor that not only gave their time, but gave their expertise 24/7 and kept promising me, Carole, don't worry, Everybody will get the experience. Everyone will be on that field that day to experience the Orange Bowl. And darn it, every single kid was healthy enough to be on that field to experience that wonderful rush that they all had. So for all of those parents, I can't thank you enough. For all the rest of you, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to have them, for sacrificing many things, which I know you do, whether it be because of private lessons or just to help fundraise for a trip such as this, or your time that you endlessly gave to make sure that they were able to have such a special trip. And I can't thank you enough. I know they can't thank you enough. They do know how much you do for them. I know they don't always empty the dishwasher, take out the trash, pick up their clothes. I have them myself. I understand that. But I know how much they care about you and the home, no matter what that definition is, that you provide for them and the opportunities that they've been allowed to do. So I wanted to take this time. It's probably the most any of you will ever hear me talk. So don't think you're going to get it again. But I think myself needed to get off the treadmill tonight as we ran right to basketball games, chamber strings, jazz band, pit rehearsals, and none of us really have had that time to say, you know what, we did really well on that.